Hey, Sharif, this is Tommy Bryson. How are you?
I'm good. What about you, brother?
I'm doing good, man. So just want you to know before this call gets started, this call is gonna be recorded and potentially uploaded. Cool.
Yeah, that works.
All right. How can I help, bro?
Yeah, so basically, I just wanted to assess where I'm at and see what I could be doing to get ahead.
Okay.
And so I guess I'll start off by giving you a little bit of information about me.
Okay.
So I live in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada, and I'm 19 years old.
Okay.
I'm doing a 3-year major in computer science.
Okay.
I'm debt free,
Mhm.
but my mom has a debt which I took upon myself to pay it. Right? So I'm
Mhm.
currently trying to pay that off. I maxed out my TFSA, which is the equivalent of Roth IRA in US.
Okay.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm working as a self-employed tutor to cover my minimal expenses. So I want to
Okay.
know what can I do? What else can I do to get ahead right now?
All right. So sounds like my name is Sharif. I'm 19 years old. I live in Canada. I do computer
Hmm.
science. I'm debt free. My mom's in debt though, so I'm helping her with that. And I
Yeah,
also do
exactly.
tutor on the side, and I'm also investing and maxing out my accounts every single year. Make sense? Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
And what you want to know is basically, is where I'm at a good place? Like, am I actually making
Hmm.
progress, or should I do something else? Okay. So, great question. The first thing is I want to say congratulations because at age 19 I was still buying clothes and doing stupid stuff. So that's amazing.
I
Second
went
thing
through that
is,
phase too. Don't worry.
yeah, man, it sucks. And then you have a pretty good major, which is computer science, because it's a great major. It's in demand right now, and it's gonna make you money most likely. And you're also doing it debt free. Now, one big thing I want to ask you about your major is how are you managing to doing it debt free? Is it through scholarships? Is it through like government programs? How is it?
Okay, so right now, I do have one bursary, and for now, my parents are paying my education. But I do want that once I get out of university and start working, I did tell them that I want to repay them.
So you have to understand, right? This sounds a little confusing, right? Is it a
Yeah.
gift or is it a loan?
No, basically, in our culture, how it works, like, you're living with your parents, so, they cover most all your expenses, even education and stuff like that. So I would say, it's more like a gift.
Sharif, the definition of a gift is I'm gonna give you something without expecting anything in return. And if your parents are gifting you something and you're trying to pay them back on that gift, you're
Mhm.
stealing the joy from them being able to gift you something. So you have
Yeah,
to
I
make things
do
very
understand.
clear.
Yeah,
Does that make
yeah.
sense what I'm saying?
It does, yeah.
So my biggest thing would be like, hey mom, if this is a loan, then I can't help you with your debt because I gotta pay you guys back for
Right.
at least right now, right? So you gotta make
Mhm.
the differentiation. So you gotta, if I were you, right? So
Mhm.
I'm Sharif, I'm 19 years old, going back to college, all this stuff, and my mom is covering my student stuff, which she did not because she didn't have the money, unfortunately. Which you're very privileged that she have, and it's a very good thing, by the way. But I
Mhm.
would ask them, I would say like, hey mom, is this a gift or is it not a gift? Are you expecting me to pay this back to you? And you
Mhm.
should also know, for example, right? Because one thing is watching the people that you love making sacrifices that they can't make just to help you out when you could figure it out yourself.
Right. Right.
So is it something they can do for you or is it something that they're just trying to do for you? There's a difference.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, I don't want to get into details because it's a bit like my education. It's more from my dad, and then my mom has a debt on her side that I'm taking care of. So it's a little bit more complicated. But right now,
So
how I
your
explain.
dad is paying the education
Right. Yeah.
and your mom is the one that's in debt for whatever reason it
Yeah.
is, and you're
Yeah.
trying to help out your
Exactly.
mom. And would
Yeah.
you have a
Exactly.
conversation with your dad to ask him, is this a gift or is it not a gift? Would you have that
Um.
conversation with him or no?
No, I didn't. No,
You did or you didn't?
I didn't.
But would you be
I did
willing to?
not.
That's what I'm asking.
No.
You would not be willing to. All right. So look, and by the way, your mom's debt, right? How much money do you make
Yeah.
per month?
How much? What?
How much money do you make per month?
Oh, me? About 600.
About $600. How much money does your mom owe in total?
It's already ready to be paid.
How much is you owe in
Like I
total?
did, it's about in total it was about like 10K, but then last year I already paid off like 4K. It's all interest free, by the way. It was an interest free debt, and then now I have another 5K that's saved up and ready to be paid. But that's another one of my questions. I wanted to ask you: should I wait to pay that one off because it's a debt free interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to
Okay.
ask you, like, should I
Can
wait to
I?
pay it off? What should I do with that money?
Is this the first time your mom ever got into debt?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Did she get into debt for you?
Is she in debt for me? No.
Okay. Now I want to tell you something, right? This because I know
Yeah.
you don't want to go into much detail, and that's fine. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you want to go into
Yeah.
detail with me, and then I'll ask my editor to cut it out, that's fine too. But here's what I will say, right?
Yeah.
If if I have a brother, right, and if he were
Yeah.
asking me for money, I would not give money to him
Okay.
because the problem is that if you have certain tools when it comes to money, and
Mm-hmm.
then you have somebody fix that problem for you. My mom has a debt problem. I paid her
Mm-hmm.
debt, and then two
Right.
years later, she's back in debt.
Okay.
It's not gonna be fixed. So that's why I
Yeah.
ask you. So it's important that before you do these things, that you kind of have like a parameter. And it's hard to do
Mm-hmm.
when it's your mom, right? Because it's kind of like, that's my
Right.
mom. What are you talking about parameters here? So that's what you got to do, though. You got to be like, hey, mom, I'm going to pay this for you because you already are, in a sense, right? But then you say,
Right.
like, hey, I have responsibilities too. So when I do pay this, make sure this does not happen again. This is more like a one
Right.
off. It's not something I'm always going to be able to do for you because this can
Mm-hmm.
become a habit. And it's kind of like if you don't, it's like, you know, the idea that more money is going to fix all my problems, but then you make more money and then you're like more in debt and you have less money
Right.
altogether. The same thing
Well, I
happens
can
with
tell you
that.
this. The debt it was from like 5 years ago, and it didn't increase since then. So it's like something that happened 5 years ago, and since then my mom doesn't work, so she didn't have an
Mm-hmm.
income to pay it off. She basically borrowed it from people, so that's why it's interest free, right? But I just want to
Oh,
pay those
I
people
see.
back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you do that, just make sure you have that understanding with your parent. But my
Mm-hmm.
priority, if I'm you right now, I'm not investing any
Mm-hmm.
money at all.
Okay.
What I would be doing is I would be taking all my extra money, right, and I would be putting it towards, for example, paying off my student loan debt, which you do have
Mm-hmm.
because in your head you're thinking about paying your dad back. So
Yeah.
if that's what you're
Exactly.
thinking right now, then you
Yeah.
have to find out how much money did he pay and start paying
Mm-hmm.
him back. Which, by the
No, I do
way,
know the amount.
how much is
Yeah.
it?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's like in total, for my 3 year major, it's gonna be around 20K.
Yeah. So if it's $20,000 and you're making 600, how many hours do you work, by the way, per week? Like 30?
Oh, it's just 6 hours a week. It's something like on the side because I
Oh,
don't have much
six.
time with the school and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
tutor a few students every
Yeah.
week.
So that's fine. But then what I would do is just like grab, since your parents are taking care of your home costs and you really have
Hmm.
no bills whatsoever. I would just
Yeah.
start taking that money and just basically put it towards my dad with my dad and be like, hey, I
Hmm.
appreciate this, but I'm gonna start paying you back, like right now.
Right.
And then that
Right.
again, right, you're gonna do something that might, for example, might be taken in two ways: thank you, appreciate it, or it might be taken as that's disrespectful because I'm giving you a gift and you're not accepting it.
Yeah.
You may
Exactly.
you might
That's
be trying to
true.
undermine me, right? So
Yeah. Right.
it's it's one of those things, bro. I can't really give you too much detail on that, but that would be my idea. If I were you, I would accept the
Okay.
gift, help my mom, and call it a day.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Another thing I wanted to ask you is
Mhm.
that's a bit far for me right now, but when should I think about getting my first home, moving out, and stuff like that?
You buy a home when you need one.
Okay.
That's when you buy a home. When you need a home, you buy a home. A home is a massive
Investment.
like advantage, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a massive liability in a sense, right? So here's what I mean. The steps of financial freedom, the ones that we follow here, are four. You have become debt free first using the avalanche
Hmm.
method, meaning you pay the debt, the highest interest debt first. That way you save money
Hmm.
mathematically. Second step is you save for emergencies, 3 to 6 months. That way, when you lose your job at some point, you have things covered. Then you have
Right.
third, you start investing into your retirement accounts between 10
Right.
to 20%, no more. And while you're doing that, you're saving up for a home. The home you buy it using the 33% rule, meaning the home you buy, including the taxes, insurance, the mortgage, the maintenance, everything to do with this house, cannot exceed 33% of your monthly income on a 15-year mortgage.
Okay.
So to even, and you're putting down 20%. That's a recommended one, but you can do 10% if you want to. So to
Mm-hmm.
even arrive at that point, first you got to clear up, for example, $20,000 in debt from your dad. You got to save
Right.
for your expense. And by the way, are you going to stay at home after you're done with college? Or are you going
Yeah,
to
I
move
plan
out?
on staying at home for like at least 2 years or 3 years after, finishing college.
Okay. And so do you move out when you're married or do you move out like when you want to?
When I want to.
Okay. So, all right. So you have $20,000 to clear off from the debt. Then you
Okay,
save
wait.
for your. Go ahead.
So
Sorry.
you said you want me to pay off my
No,
debt
no,
of
no.
20K.
You said you want to pay off your debt. I
Yeah.
said I would just take the gift and run. But you said you want to
Yeah,
pay it
okay, I
off. So that's the
remember.
plan I'm
You're
creating here for you. Okay?
right. But my thing was, if I do want to pay, I'm just gonna wait till I work as a computer science major. Like I work, and then I can make like at least 60K a year, and it's not gonna be that hard. I can just take a year and then pay it off in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a mathematical way to look at it. But
Okay.
then the plan that I follow is what it is. And the idea is you do that first because you have all these plans. And when you
Right.
do graduate, you're probably going to have more expenses and things might change.
Yeah.
But the
True.
idea is you start now and you start hitting it little by little, little by little. And then that way you're done basically. But I mean, you're not really going to, it's like you make $600, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, 600 times 24, that's like 14,400. So by the time you're done graduating, most likely, let's say you owe your dad like left like $7,000 or $8,000, something like that. If you're
Well.
very rigid, you might say like $6,000, right? Then
Yeah.
you boom, you pay that off, and then since you are a computer science major and you have a 60K income, then you have more money to invest, but the debt's free
Right.
taken care of. You do
Right.
first things first. That's the idea. Make sense?
So should I even think like, let's say I think about paying him back, and should I think about pulling my money out of my Roth IRA equivalent and then just
No,
paying that debt off? Okay.
it's already too late. I
Okay.
mean, if you do that, right, then the
Mhm.
idea is right. If you take out the capital, depending
Mhm.
on how you do it in Canada, the
Yeah.
capital should not have any penalty or anything like that, right? But if you take out, for
Yeah.
example, the interest that's actually been made here, you might have you might be penalized and actually taxed on it potentially, right?
Okay.
So that's the idea. But if you take out the capital and you pay back, if you want to, that's fine. But every dollar you invest, depending on how you're investing it, is like $17 in the future. So I never, once it's done, that's like a mistake that I just like leave it
Okay.
alone and then just like redo it with the current income that I have. That's just my
Right.
personal idea of it. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So once you're done with the debt, you save for emergencies. Now, which emergencies? Not the emergencies in your home, because that's non-existent basically. So
Okay.
you kind of
Yeah.
calculate what it's gonna cost you to live outside of your parents' wing,
Okay.
and then you save those 3 to 6 months. Once you have that cash in a separate account, so you don't touch it, you set aside 10% to 20% of your income for investing. The rest of your money, you can use it to save up for a home, a 10 to 20% down payment. Now, you're very smart. I can tell that. But be a little stupid, okay? Don't think that, for example, once you leave your parents' home, the best choice to make is to buy a house. Not true. Rent for a while, like at least like a
Okay.
year or like 18 months or 24 months, because a lot can happen. I live here in Puerto Rico. I just moved here recently, and if I had bought when I first came here, I wouldn't know exactly what area I wanted to live in. If I want to get married with some girl and then she's like, I don't want to live here, you know what I mean? So just like take your time to explore, to find your footing and know exactly what you want to do. And then once you made up your mind and you have all the money prepared, you have the money and then you go ahead and you execute. Make sense?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's the idea. But overall, your question is you're on pace. You just need to make some adjustments and you'll be fine.
Okay. Okay, great. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, do you have any time management tips? Like, right now I'm doing my major. I'm also working on the side. I'm trying to work on some projects, coding projects and stuff. I feel like there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I'm not really good at managing my time. I feel like there's not enough time in a day.
Okay, so let's go over it, right? You have 24 hours. How many hours do you sleep?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5. So now, okay, so we're at 24. You sleep 8. You want to call it 7.5, but it's 8 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
you have 16 hours left. How many
Right.
hours do you go to school?
On average, I would say 6 6 hours a day.
Okay. So now you have 10 hours left. What do you do after
Yeah.
school?
Okay, so right now every day I need to take like 1 hour to apply for internships.
Okay,
So
so
we've
that's
got
one
one.
hour
We're
for
at
internship.
nine.
You got 9 hours.
Okay, let's say I eat 3 meals a day. That's already another hour, right?
Yeah.
Eight. I work on my studies at least a good 3 to 4 hours a day.
So let's say 3.
Yeah, 3 hours,
You have 5
and
hours left.
then yeah, 5 hours is left, and then every week I do only 6 hours of work. So I don't know how many
So
hours that
what's
goes in a day.
yeah, so that's like every week. Is that like 5 days a week, or is it like 7 days a week?
No, it's just 2 days a week. I do three hours 2 days a week. So
So
6 hours
so
left.
so even then, right? Even then, if I minus 3 hours, you still have
Yeah,
2 hours left. On the
yeah,
average day, you're gonna have 5 hours left. The time is there.
yeah,
You just need to do something
yeah.
with it, okay? And when you
Hmm.
have like a lot of things to do, what's helped me a lot is basically just like prioritize. So you write
Yeah,
down exactly what you need to get done. For example, today, my main purpose is I gotta make this video, right? I gotta make
hmm,
the calls. I gotta make the main channel videos. I gotta make the reaction videos. But then I have like little things like I gotta take the car to the dealership. I gotta make a call to my credit card company. I gotta do like these little things, right? So the
right.
idea
Okay,
is I prioritize
okay,
80%, like 80-20 rule. So what's gonna get me 80% of the results here is gonna be do my work first and then do all the little things later. That's the idea. It's that simple, right?
okay.
So
Do you use any apps or stuff like that
no,
to
no
better
app,
organize your time? Okay.
no app. Just take your notes and then just make a 24-hour schedule
Yeah,
from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep. And then when you fail at it every single day, because you will not get it perfectly, you make
yeah.
adjustments. That's all you want to do. You just make adjustments. And if you get at least like 70% of it, you'll be a lot more productive.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay, great.
And then one big thing for me is when it comes to time management is that I organize my day with health, wealth, love, and happiness. One thing I
Right.
didn't hear when you're in your whole thing is like working out and stuff like that and taking care of your health. So that's also
Yeah,
important. So your health,
yeah.
wealth, love, and happiness. You're doing the whole wealth thing. I hear that. But plan out
Just
your.
right now, like everything is closed because the variant and stuff like that. So I'm out of
The
the gym
streets
now.
are not closed, bro. Run. Stop the cap. All right.
It's cold as hell here, bro. It's
You're
like
not.
minus
You're
30 degrees Celsius.
do some push-ups, bro. Do some push-ups, do some squats,
Yeah,
do some pull-ups, whatever you can
yeah.
do, but stay active, man. But
Okay.
that's the idea, man. You're doing great, man. I'm super proud of you. And again, these calls, brother, they're free. So if you make these adjustments and you want to give me a call back within a week, feel free to do so.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, what were the biggest mistakes that you made, and what did you learn from the mistakes?
Biggest mistakes. The biggest mistake I ever made
Yeah.
was trying to make something work when it didn't work.
Okay.
Sometimes you just gotta stop. Okay?
Okay.
And that goes for in relationships, that goes for in business and so on. And then there's this very fine line between it doesn't work and you're just not trying hard enough. So you have to give
Okay.
things a testing period. Meaning that, for example, when I wanted to do YouTube, I kept doing it the same exact way for 11 years and I kept getting failure. But what I should have done initially was take 18 months to try out one way. If it didn't work, take another 18 months to try it another way. In relationships, if you have a friendship that just is not clicking or a romantic relationship that's just not clicking, it makes no sense for the future, then it hurts, the pain's there, but you should cut it off. It's like that's my biggest mistake, honestly.
Right.
Like trying to make things work when they don't work. Because at heart, I'm a fixer. But you can't fix
Okay.
everything. That's the
That's
idea,
true.
bro.
I mean, Einstein said that insanity is doing something over and over again and
And,
expecting different results, right?
and you know what's the crazy thing about that quote? That when you are in the insanity, you don't think you're crazy. So
That's true.
that's the hardest thing to figure out. Hindsight is 2020. That's why they also add that little quote there. But when you are doing something that's incorrect or not getting your result, when you're actually in it, you think you're fine. But that's why it's so good to also ask advice of wise men because they kind
Right.
of tell you like, hey, you're kind of messing up here. This is not right. And it's also important that when you hear the advice, you listen to it. But it's also
Yeah.
important that you make your own choices because at the end of the day, you're your own man. Make sense, bro?
Yeah, I think that also self-awareness is really important too for that.
Yeah. Do you read a lot, man?
Yeah, I do. I try to read as much as possible. I always like when I watch your YouTube videos, I see like the books that you recommend and stuff. Like right now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
reading The Millionaire Fastlane.
The Millionaire
That's
Fastlane, you said?
Yeah, The Millionaire Fastlane. That's the one I'm reading right now.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's good. It's really making me think about, are we doing it wrong when we're thinking about, um, living frugally and then investing every year and then, counting on compound interest later on? Because he really questions that whole slowly mentality, right?
Mm-hmm. And what
Yeah,
do you
and
think about it?
honestly, it's making me think because I've been watching your videos for a long time, and then I'm also like, in terms of my mentality as a person, like I really think about things in terms of long term, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that the slower the progress, the more sustainable it is, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then when I'm reading The Millionaire Fastlane and he's talking about these things like, compound interest and there can be recessions at any point in time, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can lose all that. So you shouldn't always count on stuff that you can't leverage and control, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
making me think. I think at the end I'll reflect as much as possible, and then
Well,
it's
what
gonna
are the
give me a
things
new
that you can
perspective.
control when you think about it, right? So, if the plan says, right,
Hmm.
you pay off your debt, you can control that.
Hmm.
That creates a lot less friction if things were to go wrong.
Hmm.
You have an emergency account for 6 months. That's money you can control to give you time to kind of figure out what you want to do in the next 6 months. And
Right.
then if you're investing, right, there can be a recession. And the thing is with the recession, right, that's why you invest the correct way. So the way that we invest is kind of like we say, okay, we're going to put money in here for the long term. But when we take money out, we only take 4% of it. Because the worst crash in history, I think it took like 25 years for recovery to happen. But it's not like you lost like 100% of your money, because then that just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
not gonna happen like that. You might lose 80%, you might lose 60%, but the idea is that if you're only taking out 4% of it, you're not gonna run out of money when things go wrong. And if you have a paid off home, so what are your expenses now? You have no debt. You have, for example, an emergency account. You have investments growing, and you have, for example, a good career. Don't forget about that because you're studying the correct thing. And then you have no mortgage, so your expenses are very low. The way I kind of plan things out, because I think about that too, right? It's kind of like, how do I
Hmm.
eliminate as much friction as possible so I deteriorate the possibility that things may go wrong? And while you're doing
Right.
all this stuff, bro, remember to like also like enjoy life, right? So
That's true.
I
Yeah, that's
I
true.
always set aside like five. It's not like I'm out here like I'm going. I just came from DR, see my mom on this trip. I'm going to Tampa
Hmm.
this week. I set aside 5% of my income. Be like, okay, I'm gonna use this money to travel or to eat something I want to eat. The whole,
Right.
it's like you enjoy the journey. The
Yeah.
journey is like the actual like
Right.
success. It's like the actual thing. Like the destination when you get there, it's kind of like boring, but the
Yeah.
actual journey is what actually sustains you. So enjoy the
Right.
journey.
Yeah. I
That's the
get too
idea.
like deep in it sometimes, and I just forget to just live sometimes. That's true.
Yeah, bro. Just remember, right? I'm a person. These are my thoughts. He's a
Mhm.
person. Those are his thoughts.
Yep.
What your
Exactly.
job is to take what you like and throw what you don't like, and
Yep.
just test things out. Because
Right.
when I was growing up and when I started reading like crazy, I was very big fan of Warren Buffett. Today
Hmm.
I do things a little bit more differently, because you kind of have to grow into your own skin.
Yep.
Read a book. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene. It talks about
Can
that.
you repeat that?
Robert Greene, Mastery.
Robert Greene. Mastery. Okay.
Yes, it's like a 34-hour book, I think. But it's a book, man. It's a book, but
Yeah.
but you'll have fun by the end of it. I did Audible because I couldn't read a dense book like that. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it, man.
All right, man.
Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Before I go, I just wanted to, give you your flowers, man. I always watch your videos. I really enjoy everything. I learn a lot from you, man. So the fact that you've been doing this, and especially that this service is free, it shows that you care a lot about your audience. And, I just wanted to say thank you.
Appreciate you, man, Sharif. Thank you again and again. Not a one-time call. If you want to call back, feel free to do so. Okay. Peace out,
All
bro.
right, man. Take care.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
guys. That right there was basically like the smartest 19-year-old that I've ever seen in my entire life. The guy, but when you're 19, you're still a kid, right? So you still have like all these little complex issues in your head where my dad, but I don't want him to pay for my stuff, so I want to pay my stuff back. You know what I mean? So I've learned to accept things a lot more, and also trying to help his mom. So that shows like some type of empathy and stuff like that. It's awesome, you know. And he's trying to like overthink everything. Sometimes that's why I told him, you know, sometimes you want to act stupid and just and just do simple stuff. You know what I mean? Because if you start thinking about everything and what can I do here, you forget the whole journey and the whole process. And that's why we actually do things. It's like the person that says, I want to work so hard so I can have my family can have everything I didn't have, or I can have like a family with no struggle. But then you work so hard, you never get to enjoy your family. So like, what's the point? You know what I mean? So that's that for that, guys. Thank you again for these calls. I appreciate you guys a ton. If you want to call me next time, feel free to do so. The link is down below. All calls are free. On top of that, also like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. DM me on Instagram, Ty Bryson. On top of that, more content here. My face is here. Click and subscribe. Peace out. Long-term team is out.